Hello, my friends. This is Lynda Lippin, and welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Hello. It's Lynda Lippin here, host of the Pilates Goddess podcast, and this episode is dropping on American Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, my friends. And if you are listening today, I'm thrilled to have you. Today is a little bit different because instead of talking to you about Pilates and about how fabulous Pilates is, or interviewing somebody about Pilates, instead I am offering you an audio workout. So hang on in there, get your mat out, have a little bit of wall space to stand against. And here is my Pilates for neck and shoulder pain audio class. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it makes you feel better during this Thanksgiving. And of course, bookmark it, and you can feel free to come back to it anytime you need. Enjoy. Have a fabulous Thanksgiving. And I will be back with you next Tuesday. Hello, I'm Lynda Lippin, and I welcome you to a Pilates exercise series that will help control neck and shoulder pain. Before you start this exercise program, please make sure from your physician that you're okay to be exercising. And then follow this program once or twice a day for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And thereafter, you should be able to maintain a pain-free existence by doing these exercises 2 to 3 times a week. Dress in comfortable clothing, no shoes, and you're going to be on your back on either an exercise mat or a folded up towel or blanket to cushion yourself. Knees bent, feet hip bone width apart, and arms resting by your sides. You're just going to start by breathing, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And as you're breathing through a soft, relaxed mouth and jaw, I want you to think about expanding your rib cage as much as possible. Remember that your ribs start all the way up at the bottom of your throat. Your collarbones are resting on your rib cage, and that your ribs end all the way down at your waistline. And they move to the front, to the side, and to the back, 3-dimensionally. So on every inhale, I want you to try to relax your abdominal muscles, relax your pelvic floor muscles, and allow your rib cage to fill with air, allowing your diaphragm to drop down, and allowing those ribs to fill front, side, and back all the way up to the top. On each exhale, you're going to start by contracting your pelvic floor muscles like you're going to stop peeing, to pull those muscles up, pulling the abdominal muscles in, pulling in at your waistline, pushing the diaphragm up, and allowing those ribs to draw in towards your spine and towards the center of your body to get all of the air out. And then when you need to, you'll inhale again. Again, relaxing everything and expanding on each breath through the rib cage as much as possible. Your rib cage should be extremely mobile. For many of us, it's the tightest part of our body. So this breathing and expanding and beginning to move through your rib cage is the first step in loosening up the neck and the shoulders. After a few rounds of this breathing, you're actually just going to focus on your pelvis for a moment. And on each exhale, as you contract the pelvic floor and you allow the belly to sink in, not tighten, but sink in, you're going to tip your pubic bone up towards the ceiling and let your lower back and your hip bones flatten down towards the mat. And on each inhale, go in the opposite direction, dropping your tailbone and your pubic bone down towards the mat, lifting your hip bones and your lower back up off the floor. Exhale, come back through that center position and into that posterior pelvic tilt where the hip bones are below the pubic bones, and inhaling into that anterior tilt where the hip bones are forward of your pubic bones and tailbones. Go through this tilting and arching movement 5 or 6 times. And then find a middle position where you're in between the two, where your hip bones and your pubic bones are even on the same horizontal plane towards the ceiling. You may feel in this position that your lower back is a little bit arched off the mat, and that's okay. Your lower back is supposed to go a little bit forward, as is your neck. Your tailbone's down, the base of your skull is down, the middle of your rib cage is down, but it's okay for your lower back and your neck to not be on the mat. Take a second here and just feel what that feels like. You should also feel in this position like the weight's further off your shoulders, that it's more centered down towards your pelvis and your tail. Now focus on your head. We're going to do the same thing. So this time, you're going to drop your chin down towards your chest, keeping the back of your head on the mat. And then lift your chin up towards the ceiling. And again, just inhaling and exhaling, dropping the chin, nodding down, and then lifting the chin back up. Go through this movement a few times, trying not to make it a huge movement, but just trying to move from the very base of your skull, at the top of your spine. Now add a little circle to this movement, as though you were drawing a circle in the air with your nose or your chin, keeping your head on the mat, still moving from the base of your skull and breathing as you need to. And then go in the other direction, doing the same thing. We're just trying to loosen up those muscles that hold the neck to the skull in the back. Come back into the middle from these, and then again feel that curve of your spine. This is the position where the muscles that support the vertebrae can do their best job supporting the vertebrae. This is what we call your neutral spine. On your next exhale, maintaining this sense of the neutral spine, you're going to lift both arms up towards the ceiling. Just at shoulder height, like you're reaching up to grab something from the ceiling. And now as you inhale and expand those ribs, I want you to lift your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. Keep your head down. Just lift those shoulder blades up. Spread them apart as far as they'll go. And as you exhale, drop your shoulder blades back down and squeeze them together as though you had a little walnut between them and you wanted to try to crack that walnut. Inhale, lift those arms back up, almost like you were a puppet with strings attached to your wrists and your fingers, and the puppet master was pulling those strings up and pulling your arms up, and then letting the strings drop back down so your shoulder blades came down and squeezed together. And a few more times, letting those shoulder blades and collarbones move. They're supposed to move. They're supposed to move a lot. And then let your shoulder blades rest into a middle position. And notice that when they're in this middle position, they're a little more on the side of your rib cage. Your shoulder blades are very high on your rib cage. They actually rest, the top of your shoulder blade is right behind the top of your collarbone. Where you feel that little indentation at the top of your shoulders where those bones come together, that's where your collarbone and the top of your shoulder blade start to join at the shoulder joint itself. So those shoulder blades, in order to allow your arms to really move, need to be able to move as well. Now, still with your arms up towards the ceiling, but with your shoulder blades in this neutral position, as you exhale, I want you to let both arms go back overhead. I want you to keep space between your arms. Keep them as wide as the outside of your shoulder. If you remember Barbie dolls or any kind of doll, if you put their arms over their head and squeeze their hands together, their shoulders would pop out. We're a little more forgiving. We have better joints up there and a little more flexibility, but it's still not a great idea. There's a lot of nerve centers and joints in there that you impinge when you have the arms too close together. Circle the arms out to the side and back down to your hips. And again, you're going to lift them up to the ceiling. Now this time, as the arms go back overhead, make sure that you don't lift or move your rib cage or your pelvis. The spine stays in the exact same position and your ribs are attached to your spine. Circling around to the side and down to your hips. And again, up to the ceiling. Let your collarbones roll on your rib cage as the arms go back overhead. The shoulder blades are going to move to the side of the rib cage a little bit and up. And then as you open the arms out to the side, the shoulder blades will slide back down. One more in this direction. Inhale to lift the arms. Exhale to send them over. Note that your arms may not necessarily touch the floor or touch the mat. If you're tight in the shoulders, they won't. What's important here as you do the arm circles is that the rib cage and the spine stays stable and not moving as you move through the arms and the shoulders. I promise you that as you keep doing this, your range of motion will get better as your body senses the new stability in through the center core. Now reverse that direction. Let your arms open out to the side, inhaling. Exhale as they circle around and up towards your ears, up to the ceiling as you inhale, and exhale down to your hips. And then keep this movement going with that same breath pattern. Again, focusing on the movement of the shoulder blades, the collarbones, and the arms, but not the rib cage and the spine. So respect the range of motion that you have in your shoulders. Don't try to push it. Work with it. And after you've done this 4 or 5 times, just let the arms rest back down by your sides. Now I want you to take both hands and put both hands behind your head. And let your head really rest in your hands. Lift your elbows and upper arms up off the mat a little bit and allow the shoulder blades to come to the side of your rib cage. So your collarbones are open, your shoulders are not lifting up towards your ears. And now on your next exhale, you're going to start to nod your head up and then lift that whole head up off the mat. Keep letting the weight of your head sit in your hands. Your elbows are pointed slightly forward. Your shoulder blades are down and forward. As you stay in this position, make sure that you have space between your chin and chest, like you're holding a little egg, orange, lemon, or lime under your chin. And then slowly come back down. And again, deep breath in, exhale, nod that head up and curl it up, holding, keeping that space between your chin and your chest. And now come up a little bit higher so that you feel your rib cage move down towards your hip bones in the front, like you're wearing a tight vest or a corset. And slowly come back down. Now again, curling that head up on the exhale, starting with that nod. rolling up through that rib cage. Now this time when you get up there, stay there. Get your neck and shoulders nice and easy. And now as you breathe, make sure that you have not tucked your pelvis. Get your pubic bone and your tailbone back down, almost as though you were going to arch your lower back up off the mat. And then exhale, deepen the contraction of your pelvic floor and curl up a little bit higher from your rib cage, really pulling in and up, and then slowly lengthen everything down. And one more time, take a deep breath in. Exhale, nod the head, curling up, holding that little orange or lemon under your chin, rolling up through the rib cage as though you were wearing a vest or a corset. Inhale, make sure your tailbone's dropped now. You're not pushing all of your weight into your lower back. Exhale, pull up and in the pelvic floor, sink the belly in, see if you can come up just a little bit higher, and slowly come back down your spine and bring your arms back down to your sides. Roll onto your stomach, legs straight, legs together, arms by your sides, palms down to the mat. Now make sure in this position that you're still breathing a lot into the side and back of your rib cage. And make sure as well that your hip bones and your pubic bones are into the mat with the same amount of weight. And that you're even on all sides. It's harder to hold the abdominal muscles in when you're in this position because your guts, your internal organs, which are quite heavy, are now dropping down towards the center of the earth with gravity. So it does take a little more abdominal contraction to hold those abdominal muscles in and up against the weight of your organs. On your next exhale, keeping the hip bones and the pubic bones and the feet down, you're going to start to lift and lengthen out from the crown of your head, the roof of your mouth, and your breastbone. Keep looking down at the floor as though you were standing, and the floor was the wall in front of you. Start to open up your collarbones now. Breathe again. And start to lift your hands, squeezing into the back of the armpit and the side and back of the rib cage. You're reaching your head and your breastbone towards the wall on the other side of the room as you reach your fingertips towards your feet. Make sure the abdominals are pulled in. You're still working through the front of your rib cage. And then slowly come back down. And again, finding the length. It's as though somebody was pulling that string at the very top of your head, lengthening out your spine as you start to lift up the head and the breastbone. And you let the collarbones open, the shoulder blades slide down the side and back of the rib cage, lifting the arms, lifting the hands. Keep the shoulders open. Don't let them roll forward. Keep that length. Breathe. Keep the abdominal muscles in and slowly come back down. And one more time. Coming up. Lifting, lengthening, breathing long through that extended spine. Keep the back of the neck long. Don't crane your head trying to look up in front of you. Keep the back of the neck long. You're looking down at the floor. Open those collarbones. Reach those arms. Breathe. And slowly come back down. Now go to sit back in your heels. Just let your back stretch for a second. Just let it rest. And now come back out on all fours like a cat. Exhale, round your spine. Make sure your wrists are right under your shoulder joints and that your knees are right under your hip joints. Drop the head, lift the ribs, spread the shoulder blades, tuck the tail under. Inhale, stick your tailbone out. Let your low back drop. Drop the ribs. Lift your breastbone. Lift your head. Lift your chest. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Exhale, round again. Drop the head. Drop the tail. Tuck it under. Lift those hip bones. Lift those ribs up towards the ceiling. Spread your shoulder blades wide. Inhale, stick out the tailbone. Let that low back arch and drop. Let the ribs drop. Let the breastbone lift. Lift the head. Lift the chest. One more time. Exhale, drop the head. Tuck the tail. Lift the ribs. Round that spine. Spread those shoulder blades as wide as they'll go. Inhale, stick the tail out. Arch the back, drop the ribs, lift the breastbone, squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift your head. Now come back to a middle position, so you're in between those two. Those abdominal muscles are pulled in, your shoulder blades are at the side of your rib cage. You're sticking your tailbone out a little bit, but your abdominals are working, and your hips and your pubic bones are in the same relationship, in that same horizontal plane as when you were on your back. Now, from this position, just let your shoulder blades slide together like the exercise we did earlier when you were on your back with the puppet master lifting them up. And then spread your shoulder blades wide. Try not to move through your lower back or tuck your tail. Just let the shoulder blades move so that the upper back actually squeezes together and flattens just a little bit as you drop the breastbone towards the floor and the shoulder blades squeeze together, cracking that walnut. And then your upper back gets really round as you let the shoulder blades spread wide and move away and get a little neck stretch. And one more time, you're going to let them slide together. And you're going to let them spread away. And then you're going to just come back to a middle position. Now, I want you to get up and sit up on a chair or at the very edge of a couch or your bed. Try to sit in a position where your hips are at a 90-degree angle. You have a right angle at your hips, you have a right angle at your knees. Make sure you're sitting on your sits bones, the two bones at the bottom of your pelvis. It's going to feel like you're sticking your tailbone out a little bit. It's going to allow you to have that spine curve so that you're not flattening out your lower back or flattening out your neck. Breathe a few times here, pulling those abdominal muscles in. On the exhale, contracting the pelvic floor just like you did on your back and on your stomach. Bring your hands crossed in front of your chest, like Barbara Eden in I Dream of Jeannie. Keep your breastbone lifted, keep your shoulder blades relaxed. Keep both hips facing forward, pull the abdominal muscles in, and as you inhale, you're going to twist your rib cage and your head to the right. Don't let the weight of your hips change. Keep both hips solidly on the floor. Think about lengthening up through the crown of your head like when you were on your stomach on the mat. And exhale, use the abdominal muscles to come back to the center. Now go to the other side, to the left. Inhale, rotating those ribs, lifting up as you twist, keeping the hips down, the sits bones even. Exhale, use those abdominal muscles to rotate those ribs back to the center. Inhale to the right again. Again, you're not trying to push the range of motion. You're trying to work within what's relatively comfortable for your body. And come back into the center from the abdominal muscles on the exhale. Go to the left again, inhaling to rotate. Remember as you return that those abdominal muscles are wrapping from the spine around to the front. So they wrap around the torso and assist with that movement. Go to the right one more time. Exhaling to come back to the center. And then last time to the left. Exhaling back to center. Now stand up, coming off the chair. Find a space against a wall where you have enough room to move your arms up and to the side. You're going to stand against that wall with your tailbone against the wall, the base of your skull and your rib cage against the wall. Remember again, like when you were on your back, you're not going to be pushing your lower back or pushing your neck back. Going to find that nice neutral place where you can breathe easily and keep those abdominal muscles pulled in. And now you're going to work arm circles standing. Inhaling as you lift the arms up to the ceiling, exhaling as they go overhead. Inhaling to open, exhaling down. Same rules as when you were on your back. You maintain the spine curve, maintain the connection of the tailbone, the head, and the ribs. Don't let the rib cage move. Let the collarbones and shoulder blades move. Respect your range of motion. Your hands won't necessarily hit the wall. After you've done 4 or 5, you're going to go right to the other direction. Inhaling to open, exhaling overhead, inhaling forward and exhaling down. And again, repeat this 4 or 5 times, ending with the arms down by your side. Now turn around so you're facing the wall. Bring your legs together. Heels together, squeeze your inner thighs, keep your belly button pulled in. Try to find that same long position as the exercise flight that we did when you were on your stomach on the mat. Your hands are against the wall, shoulder width to the outside of the shoulder and at the height of your shoulders. I want you now, as you're facing the wall, you're going to keep your torso in that same exact line. Keep your bun squeezed, keep your abs in, keep the inner thighs together. Bend your elbows, bringing your chest towards the wall. Your elbows can go wide to the side, and as your breastbone goes towards the wall, your shoulder blades are sliding together in your back. Then push away from the wall, straightening the elbows, allowing the shoulder blades to spread. And again, wall push-ups, bending those elbows, keep the belly button pulled in, the glutes squeezing the inner thighs, letting those shoulder blades squeeze together as your chest goes towards the wall, and then pushing away, exhaling, breathe, let the shoulder blades spread apart as the elbows straighten. 2 more times or 3 more times, depending on how you're feeling with these wall push-ups. Try to keep your heels down if you can. That will add a little bit of hamstring and stretch through the calf, which is never a bad idea. When you finish with these push-ups, just push yourself away from the wall and congratulate yourself for a job well done. I congratulate you for starting this exercise program and trying to live a pain-free life. Thank you. Well, my friend, I hope that workout was good and that you're feeling a little bit better, a little bit calmer. Your neck and shoulders are feeling great. You're standing up a little taller and you are ready to take on Thanksgiving in whatever way you are celebrating today. So once again, thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. And if you love it, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Podchaser and leave a rating and a written review. And I will see you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Music brought to you by Nerd Salad. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you liked it. And please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks.